Hey, what's up? It's Eric J. Olson here for another Lunchtime Live, and I've got a special guest, good friend of mine, Lee Sheridan from Two Maids and a Mop. What is up, Lee?
What's going on, Eric? Long time no see.
Yeah, man. So I have known Lee for a couple of years now through the Entrepreneurs Organization, and we see each other at learning events, and I've watched him grow his business from nothing to where he's at now, which is 3 locations and 2 franchises, 2 businesses.
At least.
He's got a lot going on. So we invited Lee on to kind of talk about his journey, which is quickly turning into $1 million journey, which is fantastic. So Lee, tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I started this journey. It'll be 4 years that we've been open in April. So started that in 2017. Started with just the city of Virginia Beach, and quickly grew that. And then recently we purchased the city of Norfolk and Chesapeake, and then also spun it into another business called Beach Hospitality Services. So it seems like we've done quite a bit in a short amount of time, but it's been a lot of fun. So we're very, very pleased with where we are and where we're heading.
Let me tell you, that's super impressive. I mean, you've gone from like the initial idea to just branching in 4 years. That's pretty amazing. So let's talk a little bit maybe about like the very beginning. Like, who was Lee Sheridan before Two Maids and a Mop?
So I was in the dangerous and sexy industry of insurance claims. So I was in insurance for just over 20 years. And I did insurance claims. I actually resigned. I was the salvage manager, national salvage manager, and national auto physical damage manager. So I traveled around the country. I traveled a bunch, and essentially did a lot of training, managed some vendors. So did a bunch of different stuff over 20 years. Lived in Connecticut, New York, Virginia, Phoenix, back to Virginia, and just kind of got tired of it. I mean, I got burned out. I mean, I always said I was a family guy, but I put my family, kind of last, just because I was busy building a career. And my kids are getting older. Married, and I got 2 girls. They're 18 and 16 now. And so I was just gone, and my wife works full time, and it was tough. It was tough. And I was, I'd come home on the weekends and essentially do laundry, do the yard, be a part-time dad, be a part-time, husband. And it was difficult. So this opportunity came along, and it just seemed like the right time, the right place, the right community, and definitely the right franchise. I hit it off really well with our CEO, and I still do. And him and I are cut from the same cloth, and it just seemed like a good fit. So I jumped ship and essentially built my own. And so here we are.
That's a huge change, man. So you had 20 years of experience in an industry, and then you made the switch to something sounds like completely different.
Yeah.
I bet that was scary as hell. I'm sure you had a few conversations with the wife and family about that.
My wife's a rock star, and I couldn't do it without her. And so that's a big deal. It's a really big deal having that level of support. But we planned for this. I was burned out. She knew I was burned out. I was angry. I wasn't sleeping. I was probably a tough guy to have around. Yeah. And so when I kind of pulled the trigger, I remember coming back, my home office back then was in LA. I remember coming back from LA, took a red eye home, and just kind of came in my foyer and just looked at my wife, and she's been working from home for a long time. And I just looked at her, and I'm like, what the hell did I just do? What did I do? So it was, it was scary. So success wasn't an option. We were gonna execute and do well, and so far so good.
Yeah, it's super tough. It's interesting that you said you were angry, because I felt that way as well, and I guess I didn't quite figure that out until you just said that. So like for me, like my journey started about 11 years ago, and I was the same way. I was just kind of like restless, very restless, and kind of upset with myself for the situation that I had gotten myself into.
Yep.
And yeah, I guess you really kind of question a lot of things at that point. But you,
Well, I think you look at things, you say, listen, it shouldn't be this hard, right? Like I'm looking at corporate America, I'm like, listen, it's not that hard. Like let's just do the right thing, let's execute, let's make sure we have the right people in the right places, and let's just do it. It shouldn't be that hard. And the easy stuff got hard,
yeah,
and that's when I just said, listen, I can't do it anymore, right? So I'm going to go and see, is it really this hard or not? And there's different challenges, but there's also, you gauge success a little bit differently as well. So
so what was it harder than you expected?
it was different, right? I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's not easy. It's definitely a daily challenge. Like I explained to people, I said, when somebody hands you your meal, every day or every 2 weeks, your meal looks like a paycheck or whatever is gratification to you. When somebody hands that to you, it's a little bit different. But when you have to essentially, hunt, kill, clean, cook your own food, you tend to look at things a little bit differently. And so, I gauge success differently based on that. So yeah, it's hard, but what's rewarding and what isn't.
Awesome. So let's talk about like the franchise model a little bit. So you opted to go down the franchise path. There's other paths. Like you could have just started your own um, Two Maids and a Mop. I mean, not with that name, but you could have invented a business. What made you decide to go franchise? How did you find the franchise? You mentioned seeing eye to eye with the CEO, but did you find that like the CEO of the franchise first, or were you thinking franchise and then went to like a franchise like convention or something like that?
No, so it was pretty interesting. I knew I wanted to do a franchise because it's a business in a box, right? So
Yeah.
open a box, follow the instructions. For the most part, you should be fine. You could put your individuality in there and spice it up a bit, but for the most part, follow the instructions and you'll do well. So I knew I wanted that, and I did research. I knew I wanted something that was in the service industry, something that wasn't retail, and I like to help people, right? So helping others is a big deal. So I looked at a bunch of different franchises, and once you start looking, you start getting these phone calls from franchise coaches. So I got a couple phone calls and had really good conversations, and it was great. It educated me with regards to the process and with regards to who I am and what would be a good fit. Narrowed it down to two or three different franchises. And when I did have the conversation with our CEO, Ron Holt, it clicked. I said, this is a guy I could see myself working with. And I've made it clear to him, I don't work for you. I work for me. You and I are business partners,
Yeah.
and he laughs at that, but it's true, right? This is my shop. And I employ a system that he put together. And the better I do it, then everybody kind of wins. So, it just seemed like a natural fit at that point.
Nice. That's very cool. The other franchises that you're looking at, just curious, were they also in the cleaning business or totally different?
Yeah, one other one was cleaning. Another one was like in-home care, like senior care, things
Hmm.
like that. Which again is something that's important to me. We are all around the same age. You and I and a lot of our friend circle, and our parents are getting to a certain age, and they're requiring certain assistance. And I looked at that, but the end of that relationship isn't very rewarding, right?
Familiar.
So
Yeah.
everybody knows how those relationships end.
Yeah.
And so I just couldn't see myself dealing with that on a regular basis. So this just seemed like a natural fit.
Very cool. Were you one of the original maids?
I was out cleaning for a couple of months. So I think you have to do that in order to
Yeah.
gain
Learn.
credibility. Hey, listen, I've been in the field. I did it. I'm not going to ask you to do something I haven't done. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't like it. But I know our system. I know how it works. I know what the expectations are. I know what the pitfalls are in the field. So I get it. So I can sympathize, but overcome and adapt, right? So that's kind of how we look at it.
Fantastic. This is great, man. All right. You've got some fans here, by the way.
Oh
So
yeah.
here we have Missy Curtis, the marketing manager over at iFly. I'm pretty sure our daughters played on the same basketball and or volleyball teams a few years back.
Yeah, my daughter is she plays her Salem high school girls team. So she's a rock star. She works really hard. Super proud of her. And I have another daughter who actually is, 18 years old. She graduated a year early. I'm lucky. I'm a lucky guy. I'm surrounded by great people like you and a tremendous family. So, what else could you ask for?
Well, here's validation that your wife is a rock star. There's Deborah. I agree that his wife is a rock star. However, note Lee is a terrific business owner, mentor, and boss. So proud. Good for you. That's awesome.
Look at that. See, that's what happens. I got to take her out for dinner, and it's she's awesome. So
before we dive too deep, or not too deep, a little deeper into the individual businesses. So Missy did have a question. I've looked into franchises too, and I've gotten those coach calls. What helped you pull the trigger?
So you've got to do your due diligence. You've got to dig in. You've got to have those conversations with those franchise owners and leadership within the franchise. Two Maids and Mop, when I jumped on board, I opened Virginia Beach. We were the 32nd or 33rd franchise that they sold, right? So I got in on the bottom floor. I did deal with the CEO and the COO. So I think you have to make sure, like anything else, it's can you work with those people that you're talking with right now? Are they going to be supportive? Is it such a large organization that you're going to be a number? What are the benchmarks for success? So really anything that you bang against any other, objective or outcome, I think that's what you need to look at. And if it jives with your mentality, and really with your lifestyle, then I think it's a good fit. But asking questions, my God, for a long time in my life, my career, I argued for a living. So you need to do your due diligence. You need to make sure you're asking the right questions, and it's got to be a gut feeling. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's a good gut feeling, you feel good about it, then jump on board. But it's not easy. I didn't just come across Two Maids and say, hey, that's a cool name. Let's jump on it. So
yeah, that's interesting how you said that. You have to do your due diligence, you have to do the research, but in the end, it's a gut call. Right? And so you really have to factor in both those things in a lot of business situations. So great question, Missy. Appreciate it. If anyone's got a follow-on question or a comment, feel free to just type into the chat or post a comment wherever you're watching, and we will answer it live. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the franchise territories. So you mentioned that you started off in Virginia Beach. You have since grown to I guess it's really acquire Chesapeake and Norfolk. So, I'm not asking for like numbers or anything, but like, how does that kind of work as far as like getting a territory? Is it pretty consistent through the franchise, through franchises in general, that like a city is a franchise area? Sometimes is it broken up by zip code? Like, how does that work?
So yeah, all the above, right? So when I came on board, it was such a new / fledgling. I shouldn't say fledgling because that suggests failure or potential failure. But it was new, right? So I think they were very open-minded with regards to territory and size. And it just didn't make sense to break up the city of Virginia Beach. So I purchased the whole city, right? So and that model is based on a lot of different demographics as well as household figures and things like that. You're not spitballing. There's a little bit of science that's in there. And then fast forward, 3 years when I just acquired the Norfolk and Chesapeake territory, it was a little bit different. And I think like anything else, you learn along the way, right? So there's a better mousetrap, so to speak. So we did discuss specific zip codes and, what would be beneficial. And of course, now I'm a wiser consumer, right? So I'm not going to buy a zip code that has a specific demographic that doesn't fit my target demographic. It doesn't make sense for me to spend money on that. So I was able to be a little bit more selective in that area. And I did so. And it's like we talk about, in EO, right? Are you going to hunt with a shotgun or are you going to hunt with a rifle? So I hunted with a rifle, and I identified my target, my target audience and my target consumer and customer. And I was able to identify and drill down to specific demographics, which identified specific zip codes, and those are the ones I acquired.
Super smart. Yeah, that's great. There's a lot of benefits to a franchise. My dad had a franchise for video stores,
Mhm.
and he came from a background in the Air Force to running video stores, a completely different thing. But one of the things that I noticed early on, and I was in high school at the time, was that it did provide everything that you needed as far as like understanding what the business was and the systems. He even bought their computers and their software and all that stuff. Whereas like here, at Array Digital, we invented all that stuff, and because we invented it from scratch, we made a lot of bad decisions, and we've pivoted multiple times, significantly. So it would be incredible to just avoid that entire early phase of trying to understand what business you're in. So I
Right.
think the big benefit of being in a franchise, and then like you said, as time goes on, you get more and more mature and sophisticated. Then you can start hunting with a rifle instead of a shotgun. I love that quote. That's great. Cool. Wow. All right, Missy. I think we need to like set up a one-on-one call between you and Missy. She's got a couple more questions here. So, and that's cool, Missy. Bring them on. So, what about marketing as a franchise? What additional marketing are you able to do, or you do? Okay, so the franchisor versus you, right?
Right. So, there's the franchise does a really good job, and they're super supportive, and they do a great job of doing marketing at a higher level, right? So they look at it not only for, because listen, a rising tide lifts all ships, right? So they do a good job in their marketing. It's going to have a favorable influence on my business. My business has a favorable influence on the growth of the brand and all that stuff. So they do a really good job, and they do a good job at a high level. I would say at a national level. So yeah, I pay for that. And it's a lot of social media stuff, Google, Yelp, all stuff that you find folks at Array know all about. So they do a good job, but then it's my kind of, what am I going to contribute to it? So my contribution is a lot of Facebook marketing. We do post a lot. I should probably post more. So we do post a lot. We put a lot of information on Google. We ask for feedback from our customers, and we post a lot of that feedback. We've got great ratings on Google and Facebook and things like that. So it's what is important to you, and then a little bit of local marketing. So we're in a couple of media outlets here locally. So we're in print, we're online. And then listen, I've got a tremendous staff. I mean, I'm absolutely lucky to have the folks that I do have. They're outgoing, they're ambitious, they work hard. So I got a marketing staff of 18 people out in the field every day. They wear their shirts, they got smiles on their faces, they do a great job. So that's probably the biggest marketing asset I have.
I think you're totally right. Yeah, Missy also followed up with a comment. I fly as a franchise, but our location does the majority of our marketing. I am wondering if it is similar for your organization. Sounds
Yeah.
pretty similar. Yeah, as a matter of fact, so iFly is a client of Array Digital's, and when we were looking at everything they were doing, it certainly the franchisor took care of the bulk
Right.
of their marketing, but there were a couple things that we could help with, and then Missy and her crew there, they do a ton of marketing as well. So it's a very collaborative effort, it seems like. I did want to kind of show some of your properties, your web properties. So let's take a look first at the website. So here we go. This is your Two Maids and a Mop website in Virginia Beach in particular. There's another one for Chesapeake. So Two Maids, this one's Two Maids, virginiabeach.com. There's Two Maids, Chesapeake.com. I haven't brought up the Norfolk one. I assume it's Two Maids, Norfolk.com.
No, Two Maids, Norfolk and Chesapeake, essentially put those together as one.
Okay, cool. So is this something that the franchisor, the parent company, provides?
Yeah, so they build that with a little bit of input and help from us, and we can make some adjustments to it, but they primarily manage that. And what's good about it is it's certainly interactive, right? So you can book your own cleaning.
Ooh,
You can
nice.
click on a button and literally have your own cleaning booked within 90 seconds. It populates our system. We get packages out to you. So we, one of the things that we do here that I think is unique and a little bit different is that we leverage technology, right? So my staff leverages an app. You're going to get a text message from us a couple of days before you're cleaning. We're going to call you when we're on the way. We're going to walk through your house when we get there, and we're going to walk through your house before we leave just to make sure you're content, because quite honestly, we don't want to come back unless we're supposed to come back. So, that's, and we've kind of burned that into our culture here. And it seems to be extremely beneficial, but all those websites are interactive. And like I said, you could book your own cleaning in 90 seconds.
That is awesome. That's great. And then let's take a look here at your Google My Business. So this is super impressively 181 reviews and a 4.8 average. That's really good. So
yeah, we have standards. I mean, we're not just, we're not doing a half-assed job, so to speak, so we actually we don't have a money back guarantee. We don't do refunds. If you're not happy, let us know. We'll come out and get it right. I mean, that's the expectation. It's a tangible service that, we're not perfect, and we understand that. But if something wasn't done to your satisfaction, I'm not going to give you your money back. I'm going to send the team back out to get it right. And that is our culture. And people understand that. Staff understands it. Nobody's a huge fan of it, but that's why we go in and we meet you to begin with, ask you what's important. We do the cleaning. Before we leave, we're going to ask, hey, are you content? Is everything good? Are we good to go? Because we want you to be happy, because we have a pay for performance system that my staff is compensated based on customer feedback. So it's in their best interest to generate, a high level of response and a good response.
That's like I said, it's very, very impressive. You don't usually see that many reviews, and certainly, that high of a ranking. I would say most businesses are on the low fours. So congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Yeah. And then I wanted to also show off one more website. So this is your most recent business, Beach Hospitality Services. Let's talk about that a little bit. Tell us what that is.
So it's a pretty unique business, and it caters to our area specifically, right? So this is a tourist destination. So when I opened Two Maids and a Mop, I'd gotten a call from a gentleman who said that, the person who does this turn service was not responding, the whole 9 yards. So I'm like, wait a second, what are you talking about? So I went and met the guy, helped him turn his units. And that's when I'm like, wait a second, this might be an underserved market. So first year we were in business as Two Maids and a Mop, we started handling short-term rentals. So think Airbnb, VRBO, they're called short-term rentals in general. And we started providing services to that market, and it's dramatically underserved, right? So think about it. If, Eric, let's say, you move to California and you've got 3 houses here and you don't really want to deal with them, but you want to generate revenue, but you can't handle it. You can't service it yourself. So previously you had to have a cleaning company, a laundry company, somebody who's going to manage your listings and your hosting and things like that. Well, so I just decided I'm going to create a company. I'm going to create an organization. We're going to do all that. So it's one-stop shop. So call Beach Hospitality Services. Your responsibility is to furnish the place, right? So get all your furniture, get your, beds, your mattresses, your mattress pads, your pillows, all that stuff. And we'll take it from there. We're going to handle your sheets, your towels, your blankets, your bath mats, shower curtains, paper products, soap, shampoo, conditioner. And we're going to take care of the laundry. And we're going to clean the joint. And if we find out that there's an issue, there's a hole in the wall, or the place got to be painted, or the carpet's a mess, we can provide those services for you. We can find somebody to provide those services for you. So that's where Beach Hospitality was born. And the problem with Beach Hospitality, and the reason why we haven't really promoted it as much as I would like to, is because of infrastructure. It requires a different infrastructure that Two Maids and a Mop does. So I need commercial equipment. I need commercial washers and dryers and things like that. Right now, I'm outsourcing it to a tremendous company. They do a great job. And with COVID and whatnot, they're cleaning everything appropriately, using the appropriate chemicals and the appropriate temperature, so everything's safe, and it's great, and it comes back to us wrapped up, and it's wonderful. But I want to be able to provide that without outsourcing it, so I can essentially validate that it is done properly. So we're in the process now of looking for a larger facility so that I can bring in those machines and manage all that internally.
Very nice. I think that's a home run of a business. So, yeah, I know personally I've looked at properties that I would love to purchase and then Airbnb or, short-term rental. But then I'm like, when you look at these things, you're like, you look at the financials usually, right? So, okay, the mortgage is going to be, I don't know, $1,000. And if I rent it so many nights in a month, then I can make $2,000.
Right.
But what you don't typically, or what I have often failed to do is calculate in like my time, like how many hours a week is this going to require to do things like clean, communicate with the guests, prepare the unit, all that stuff. And when you start thinking about that, you're like, do I really want to take that on as part of this investment? Because it really is like a financial investment, right? Your goal is to make a little bit of money along the way, pay off the mortgage every month, and then
Right.
build up that equity. But do I want that job that comes along with that? And at that point, it becomes like, a little bit daunting. And then if it's out of the area, forget it. Like, how are you going to do that unless you have a company like Beach Hospitality? I think
Yeah.
it's a great idea, man.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking to push that a little bit more aggressively in 2021, provided I can get into one of the spaces I'm currently looking at,
Mm-hmm.
because it requires a little bit different business model, obviously. So the business is there. I've got the equipment. Like my office right now, it's racked out. Every square inch of wall is racked out with blankets and towels and things like that. It's a pretty busy looking place.
Are you
So we need to
operating both businesses out of one facility, like same people
operating
and everything?
everything out of one spot.
Okay, cool. All
Yeah.
right. So, well, let's talk briefly, and we're getting definitely at the end of this, but I wanted to kind of ask you, like, on the one hand, you could have done Two Maids and a Mop, Virginia Beach, and just try to dominate Virginia Beach and just been happy with that, and grow to whatever its maximum capacity could be. But you certainly took the steps to get more territory, Virginia Beach and Chesapeake, and then the other thing you did that you complicated your life by starting another business. Like, why do you think you did that versus just kind of like kick back and be like, you know what, Two Maids and I'm off Virginia Beach, I'm good. Like, what drove you to that, to do more?
Um, I guess I've always been somewhat of an overachiever. I'm not I'm not content unless I'm going 500 miles an hour, and I feel like I am going 500 miles an hour. But I also saw the value that we provided in this business, to the community in general, right? So we do a lot of work. We do free cleanings for men and women battling cancer and the families of children battling cancer. We do free cleanings through the Finley Project for families that have lost an infant. A lot of our customers are elderly, disabled, and we make it work, and we do what we can to provide services for those folks. And I don't want to have a mixed message. I mean, we are a for-profit organization, right? But because of that, and the more profitable we are, the more able we are to provide services to those who probably can't afford it, or are underprivileged or underserved. So I saw what we did in Virginia Beach, and I wanted to expand it primarily because of the fact that we want to be benevolent as much as possible. And then secondly, we employ a lot of people, right? So I've got 20 on staff right now, and growing. And they need certain things that they probably have not had in the past, and support that they may not have had in the past. So I've been lucky. I've been extremely lucky in my career, despite my attempts to potentially fail myself. I've had a lot of people who just didn't let me do that. They coached me, they mentored me, they put me on the right track for success. And I think I've had a successful career in insurance. So I do look at myself as somebody who can potentially contribute to the success of others. So, my staff is my staff, and they do a great job. But, I refer to them as my MBCs, right? My non-biological children, because I do want to help them out. I do want to make sure they're on the right track. I want them to make sure they can, put food on the table, buy a house, buy a car, get out of debt. And a lot of that is just somebody to talk to and having the appropriate resources to get those things done. And like you, Eric, we belong to a couple of great organizations, EO being one of them. So when we look at the resources that are available to us, it's foolish for us not to align those resources with the folks that probably need them most. So that's what we really try to do internally here. We have 3 priorities. It really boils down to employees first and families first, then customers, then company. If I take care of my employees will absolutely take care of my customers will absolutely take care of my business. I think if we look at it that way and we're consistent in executing along those lines, that there's where success, will follow, which is why we purchase additional territories, because we've been successful in implementing those 3 priorities.
That is awesome, Lee. I can't wait to watch you continue to grow. You're crushing it, man. Well done. And I appreciate your time. So
Yeah.
thanks so much, Lee.
Yeah. Great seeing you. Hope to see you in the flesh soon.
Okay, buddy.
All right, bud.